Welcome back to GameStop TV. I'm Julian here with Tom and Shawn, and we are going to talk about a game that will fright and delight you, and that is the Dark Pictures Man of Medan. So, before we launch into it, why don't you give me an overview of this game, Tom?
Hi, so Man of Medan is the first game in the Dark Pictures anthology. It's a series of cinematic horror games with branching narratives, huge branching narratives, and it's made by Supermassive Games, who brought you Until Dawn. A Man of Medan is a story of four friends that are going on the holiday of a lifetime, diving in the South Pacific, and they find themselves on this freighter, this World War II era freighter in the middle of the South Pacific. Their radio is out, their engine is out, they're on probably the most remote bit of the globe, and there's something on that freighter that is terrifying.
So this game is the first in an anthology series, right? Complete with a Rod Serling-esque curator that's going to be introducing each anthology, and it sounds like these are going to be so much more story-driven and character-focused. Why is that key to making a horror game?
It's really important for us, you're right. So we focus huge amounts on the story early on in development and huge amounts on the character. The character's really important because people are buying the game and want to play the game because they want to be scared. But to be scared, they have to care. They have to get inside these characters' heads. They have to feel empathy with them. So we spend a lot of time making sure we got really well-rounded characters, complex characters. We get, great actors like Shawn coming along to interpret them and really create that character so that the people feel that empathy and they become really engaged with what's going on, and then they're very receptive to being scared.
Shawn, you've been on the big screen, but movies are very linear, and this game is branching and wide and all sorts of varied. So what's it like to voice a character that goes down so many different potential paths?
Very, very challenging, to be honest. And what was interesting, I literally got like a 1,000-page script before I showed up on day one, and I was like, wow, how are we going to dive through this? But it really is about just portioning out each branch and just working through them. And what's, again, interesting from a performer's perspective is within the first 20 minutes of the game, so many different things can happen to the character that then affect the rest of the game. So something that happens in the first few minutes of a game will then be a performance aspect that, as an actor, you have to carry through for the rest of the game. So challenging, fun, but that's what I like about it. And it's never stale. The arc of a character can be drastically different depending on what a player chooses. That's fun, that's challenging, but that's what I love about these games.
So yeah, this game, 1,000 pages is an insanely huge script.
Yeah.
And
I may be exaggerating, but
it was up there. It was sort of number.
I was like, wow, how are we going to do this?
Super massive, would you say?
Almost.
So this game takes about 5 hours to play through, though, and I think that speaks a lot to all the different options you can take. Normally, a longer game that presents choices, they kind of have to pare back down and get the story going back in the same direction to make it make sense by the end. Working with something that's just going to be 5 hours but replayable, where do you go with that?
Yeah, there's a huge amount of replayability there. We really built that in from the start. That was a thing we didn't know with Until Dawn, how much people would replay it, but they replayed it a lot. As soon as they finished the game, they would go back and try and save all the people they'd lost or kill all the people they'd saved. So this time we thought about that a lot more. We thought about how to make it interesting, how to keep it fresh. There's whole scenes you won't have seen on a single playthrough. So yeah, there's loads of replayability.
That sounds great. Shawn, you think you can actually dive into this one even though you know how everything ends?
Yeah, I can. It's interesting. I just saw a little bit of footage that I'd forgotten, a branch. It happens at the very beginning, and I was like, oh yeah, that happened. So yeah, I'm excited to go figure it all out. And again, I think because there are so many choices you make, there are definitely paths that I've sort of forgotten. So I think for me, as someone who's in it, but also as a player, I'm kind of interested to go back and find the ones that I've forgotten about.
Well, that's awesome that you're going to get to relive it, even though you've already done it. You've forgotten some things. When can players actually get to live through this story too?
The release date is August the 30th.
But I presume they can pre-order, right?
They can pre-order right now.
What do they get if they pre-order through GameStop?
So if you pre-order, we have a thing called a Curator's Cut. It'll give you early access to the Curator's Cut. When you've played the game, you can replay it, and if you have the Curator's Cut, you can play some scenes from the viewpoint of one of the other characters, make their choices for them, see the story through their eyes. So it's quite a big deal.
Well, thank you guys so much for telling me about Man of Medan. I can't wait to actually play it myself. Thank you guys for tuning in here on GameStop TV, but don't go anywhere because Bandai's got a ton of stuff, and Pamela's over at Code Vein. Let's go check out what she's up to.
Thank you so much, Julian. I am Pamela here with Stephen Akana. He is the Senior Global Brand Manager for Code Vein. This is a title that has been super hyped up this E3. We actually just recently got a formal release date. But for those at home who may not know as much about the game, can you tell us a little bit about Code Vein?
So Code Vein takes place in a closed-off city, and this is in the slightly distant future. Humanity is all collapsed, and it's basically a group of just revenants or vampires.
Okay.
And they've lost their memories. There's a shortage of blood. There's a society of them. Like there's almost like, they have to find their own memories, but they're also trying to get out of this world because there's almost a class system for who's getting the blood, who doesn't. So it's a great way of being able to take the action RPG genre and adding in that story-driven narrative that really helps out and gives a great accessibility to a lot of fans.
So I've heard that there might be some co-op. Is there co-op play with this game?
Yeah, so there's online co-op. So you're able, actually the base game, you're always playing with an NPC character. So it has a partner system. So if you end up dying in game, you have a partner that's able to resurrect you and vice versa.
Are there any additional game modes or any different varieties to playing, or is it just the co-op?
Oh, so you play with one other character, but if you come into an area that's really difficult, you can always send out a distress call, and you can call in a friend online to be able to join your party, and instead you'll have a 3-man cell. So it gives you a lot more tactics. You have like a 3-way pincer attack that you can do. You can have one person focusing on status buffs, drawing aggro from different enemies, because some of these fights are pretty brutal.
Absolutely, and that's only in certain spots, right?
Throughout the game, so it's like you're able to have someone jump in. It's a really cool experience because I know a lot of people, they look at these action RPGs and they're like, I love watching it. I watch people playing it on Twitch, but it might be too hard for me. And this is something where the game still has a lot of challenge in it. But there's all these different ways where you can open up the game to be able to make it more accessible. Like you can pick one class and this class isn't working. I'm gonna switch it on the fly. This area's too difficult. I'm gonna bring in a friend to be able to help me out with this. It's a great way of being able to bring in a whole new audience to this genre that is really just exploding right now.
That's super accommodating. And speaking of accommodating, you're also accommodating customization and style. What sort of customization options do people have with their characters?
So you create your own character at the beginning. You as a character, you're the center of the story. There's different classes that you're able to pick that have different, they're called gifts.
Okay.
They're different either buffs or they're cast spells, they're special physical attacks, and each class is totally different. So there's different gifts that you're able to unlock as well. So much variation.
Are there basic starter classes, or is it your class changes as you go along?
You are able to unlock them through certain means in the game.
Okay.
So it's going to be fun trying to find
it. Makes me believe that there's some secret ones in there.
There's quite a few cool ones that you guys are going to be able to find.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, as you know, at E3 this year, they finally launched a trailer and gave us a release date, which is September 27th, 2019. And in the gaming world, that's actually right around the corner.
Yeah.
And let's talk about pre-order bonuses, because you want to get your hands on Code Vein. If you pre-order at GameStop, you get an exclusive poster designed just for this by James Stokoe.
It's amazing. He's a really famous comic artist. We're so just bowled over to be able to work with such talented people locally, to be able to take the visualization of Code Vein and show it in a different light.
Stephen, thank you so much for talking to us about Code Vein. We are extremely excited about this game. But right now we're going to hand it over to Julian, who's going to talk some Dragon Ball.
Thanks, Pam. I'm here with Mark, and now we're going to talk about the newest game in the Dragon Ball Z universe, and that would be Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, formerly Project Z. Why the name change?
So as you can tell from the trailer we just released, this game is all about Goku, and Kakarot is actually his Saiyan name. So if you know the lore, you know the anime and the manga, you know that is his birth name. So Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is all about Goku and kind of his adventures through Dragon Ball Z.
So there have been a couple games recently in the Dragon Ball Z franchise. There's been Fighters, there's been Xenoverse. How is this game its own different thing?
Oh yeah, so we put out Fighters. It's like a true, PvP 1v1 fighting game, right? So in terms of mechanics, it's very well balanced. Xenoverse was more about kind of the your own character kind of traversing through time patrolling through the Dragon Ball Z universe. So what makes this game very, very special is it is covering the entire Dragon Ball Z storyline, canon storyline. So this is basically a love letter to all those core Dragon Ball fans out there.
Of which you are one, clearly.
100%.
He's wearing shoes that look exactly like Goku's gi. It's incredible.
Yes.
So, as a Dragon Ball fan, what do you really enjoy about playing this game?
I think, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z in the late 90s, and what I remember is all the iconic scenes, the highly emotional battles, and the long battles as well, right? Some of those battles, it's 12 episodes.
How long are fights going to last in this game?
Not that long, I promise you that. But it's just a joy to see all of that brought back to life in Unreal 4, and the developer CyberConnect 2 formerly made games of us on the Ultimate Ninja Storm series on the Naruto franchise. They're huge fans of Dragon Ball 2, and they have done an amazing job bringing this universe to life.
Dragon Ball Fighters was renowned for the art style. That anime style is so crucial to a Dragon Ball game, but working in 3D, it's challenging. How do you nail that look?
It's a lot of help, obviously, from Toei, as well as Shueisha. Like I said, the CyberConnect 2 guys are huge fans of the game, and with their work they've done with Naruto, these guys, their artwork and their development style is unparalleled, right?
Well, we all remember the battles from Dragon Ball Z, but the show's bigger than that. What is this game bringing that also is outside the battles we can expect?
Yes, so there's a ton of things to do in the game. So this is the ultimate Goku experience. So in the anime, he did a lot more than fighting. He went fishing, he cooked, he trained. So that's one of the biggest things in the anime lore, right? Is Goku's always never-ending thirst to get stronger. So you got to train, you got to form these special alliances and bonds with other characters in the franchise. So there's a lot of other things in the games besides battle. Also, what's very, very cool is that there are other things that have been kind of a mystery in the lore of Dragon Ball that will come to life here in the actual game. Things that you're always like, why did this happen in the anime? You're going to find those things out here through subquests and other things.
Wow, that's got to be really exciting for longtime fans of this series. The game doesn't have an official release date yet. It's just early 2020, but I understand you guys are going to have some stuff going on with GameStop, right?
Yes, something very special for you guys.
And mysterious, but unfortunately, no more information ready to be announced just yet. But you guys, if you like any of these Bandai Namco games, be sure to talk to a guest advisor and stay tuned to GameStop TV. We'll be back with more.